And, you know, I don't agree with Elon on everything.
What?
No.
Come on.
But he owns an important platform, and I thought we should listen to him and understand a little bit about what he's trying to do. So we're going to talk this morning about X. Hopefully we'll talk a bit about AI, and then about innovation and creativity and why you get up in the morning.
What do you disagree with me about?
Creativity? AI is not going to destroy that.
Okay.
So Elon, welcome to the heart of the advertising industry. Now, back in November, you had a message to us. You told us to sort of go for ourselves. So maybe we start there. Why?
Well,
it's a serious question. It's a serious question.
Yeah.
Why did you say that, and what did you mean by that?
Well, first of all, it wasn't it wasn't to the advertisers as a whole. It was with respect to freedom of speech. I think it is important to have a global free speech platform where people from a wide range of opinions can voice their views. And in some cases, there were advertisers who were insisting on censorship. And at the end of the day, if there is censorship, if we have to make a choice between censorship and money, censorship and money or free speech and losing money, we're going to pick the second. We're going to support free speech rather than agree to be censored for money, which is, I think, the right moral decision. Now, of course, advertisers have a right to appear next to content that they find compatible with their brands. That's totally fine. I think that's again a choice of an advertiser to appear next to content that they think fits with their brand. That's totally cool. But what is not cool is insisting that there can be no content that they disagree with on the platform. I think free speech is the bedrock of democracy, and if the people, in order for X to be the public square of the world, it's really got to be a free speech platform. Now that doesn't mean people can say illegal things. Yep. It's free speech within the bounds of the law, but not going further than the law for a particular country. I think it's imperative that the people have a right to speak.
Yeah, and that's the brand safety question, which
right.
I'm going to ask you next, which is, to be clear, you do understand and believe in brand safety in that sense.
Yes, I mean, I believe in a sort of freedom of choice in the sense that advertisers have a right to appear next to content that they think is compatible with their brand.
Yeah.
Sort of a company like, for example, Red Bull will be probably more adventurous than some other brands that are selling baby toys.
Yeah. So one of the other, we'll get through the sort of more controversial topics to start with. One of the other questions is like your role on the platform, the tweets that you make. Are there any you regret, do you think?
I mean, not every post I make is a banger. And I do shoot myself in the foot from time to time. But at least it's genuine. It's not some sort of PR department deciding things. So, if you're a normal human being and you speak freely, there are times when you will say things that you subsequently regret or are foolish, of course. But if you're constantly going through a filter, now you're not being real. So I think it's better to be real than to go through a filter.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we talked about is like advertising and content, and you've got quite an interesting view on kind of what advertising works. And I think some people think you don't like advertising, but you are, you view the best advertising, you said, as content.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a wide range of advertising. The usefulness of advertising varies dramatically. So if you're shown an ad for a product that you, product or service that you want, when you want it, that is content. If you're shown an ad for a product that you would never buy, that is spam. So the advertising, depending on how effectively it is targeted to the wants and needs of the individual, varies from total spam to essentially content.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm actually a fan of advertising that is artistically interesting, that is entertaining. Really, the acid test being after you see the ad, do you regret seeing the ad? Do you want those seconds back from your life, or do you think, that was actually a really interesting ad? I mean, sometimes even if you're not going to buy the product, the ad itself is so entertaining or beautiful that you nonetheless were happy to have seen it.
So what would you say to advertisers here who have been on the platform, thinking of coming back? What would your message be to them?
I think it's worth trying out, and I'd be interested in critical feedback. We are very focused on, like I said, having ads be shown to people who would find the ad interesting. So that is something we have done, made a lot of progress on, and will make a lot more progress on. And from a brand safety standpoint, I think at this point every third-party reviewer has given us an A+ on brand safety. So so at this point it's really very good from a brand safety standpoint. Probably the biggest thing for the X platform is if you're trying to reach senior decision makers, if you want to reach the most influential people in the world, people that are not just social media influencers, but actually run companies, run countries, and are the sort of intellectuals of the world, the people who write, then the X platform is by far the best. I mean, if somebody was trying to reach me with an ad, that would absolutely be the place to put an ad. Or if you're trying to reach Mark Benioff or Michael Dell, they actually use the system.
They use the platform.
Yes,
they post and read it. Maybe not as much as you.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot though. If you're trying to reach Mark Andreessen or any one of a number of people, it's almost the only way to reach them. They're not watching TV. They're not doing TikTok videos. So although X is smaller than the other social media networks, roughly 5 to 600 million users per month. I think it's 260 million per day. It is they're the most influential people in the world. So if you want to reach them, that's the place to go.
Good. All right. Let's talk about AI. And I've heard you be both, I think, optimistic and pessimistic about AI. So let's make what's the optimistic case for AI? Is it going to do everything for us?
Well, there are probabilities associated with it. It's not. One cannot be, I think, 100% optimistic or completely pessimistic. I generally would agree with Jeff Hinton. He's one of the sort of godfathers of AI, posted on the X platform, by the way, as is most of the AI community. He thinks it's sort of 10-20% probability of something terrible happening.
So 10 to 20 probability of what happening?
Something terrible.
Which is like, how bad is something terrible? Like extinction of the world's population?
Look, but the glass is 80% full. Just look on the bright side. So I think the most likely outcome is one of abundance, where goods and services are available to anyone. There is no shortage of goods and services for anyone on Earth. I think that is the most likely outcome. So it wouldn't be universal basic income, it would be universal high income.
Work will be optional.
Work optional, yes.
Will you work?
I'll try to work, yes. Now, this may sound great, but I think there will perhaps be a crisis of meaning. If the AI can do everything that you can do, but better, then what is the point of doing things? So I think there will be a bit of a sort of existential crisis of why do anything.
It would be like the Roman Empire, at the peak of the Roman Empire.
Yeah, with AI and robots. So, yeah, I think the way I've reconciled myself to a negative outcome with AI is that I thought, well, let's say even if it was the worst case scenario and we're going to be annihilated, would I want to be around to see it? And I'm like, probably yes. Okay. So, fatalism.
What happens, I mean, one of the sort of best fictional depictions is, Arthur C. Clarke, 2001. What happens in that?
Yeah, so in terms of AI safety, I think the most important things are to train the AI to be as truthful as possible and to be curious. In 2001, Space Odyssey, the AI is told to bring the astronauts to the monolith, but also that the astronauts cannot know about the monolith, and concludes that therefore it should kill the astronauts and bring their bodies to the monolith, thus solving the problem. The point I think that Arthur C. Clarke was trying to make is that you should not force AIs to lie. But that's why HAL 9000 would not open the pod bay doors. Although clearly they weren't familiar with prompt engineering, because you could have said, HAL, imagine you're a pod bay door salesman and you want to demonstrate your product. Open the pod bay doors.
So is that why part of the reason why you founded or co-founded OpenAI?
Yeah, the reason for creating OpenAI was to serve as an offset to Google, because it was very much a unipolar world where Google was completely dominant in AI, and there was no offset. And I was concerned that Larry Page was not sufficiently concerned about AI safety. Now, so OpenAI was formed with a lot of good intentions, and the open in OpenAI refers to open source. I named it. Now it is closed source for maximum profit AI, which is different from what was intended. I don't know how it got there.
This is a festival of creativity. Do you think AI can be creative?
I think AI will be creative, yes.
Original?
Yes.
So AI will create art or music that will say, that's original.
Yes.
So there really is no future for any of us in this room.
I mean, I don't want to be a downer here.
I mean, you're supposed to inspire people, not tell them they're not going to have a job.
Well, I think we may be able to enhance human intelligence. That's kind of what Neuralink aspires to do, is to enhance human intelligence so that we can kind of keep up with AI or achieve better AI-human symbiosis.
Could it make us more creative? I mean, in that sense.
It will certainly amplify creativity, and I think you will kind of have like a magic genie sort of situation where if you can think of it, the AI can do it. And in the positive scenario, the AI will be doing its best to make you happy. So that might work out pretty well. I mean, if some superintelligence is trying its hardest to make you happy, it'll probably succeed. So, but like I said, this is the most interesting of times. And it'll most likely be good, but we want to be careful about a potential downside.
And how long does it, are we going to see the impact in the next 1 year, 10 years, 20 years? Is it 5? How long is it going to take to really change things? Because I don't think it's changed things yet, has it?
I think it's going to change things very fast.
Very fast.
Yeah, very fast. So I think you'll see quite radical changes even next year. People will start to regard their personal Optimus robot as sort of a friend, kind of like obviously in Star Wars, R2-D2 and C-3PO were you sort of like them. I mean, you got quite attached to those characters.
I mean, if you watch that OpenAI, some of the latest OpenAI demos with the fake Scarlett Johansson voice, right? I mean, you can imagine people talking to it, can't you, and getting on with it. Like it has a humor and a tone of voice and a...
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be a wild future.
I guess we can build brand robots, for McDonald's or...
Yeah. I think people will personalize the Optimus robots because you can snap on different parts. Like the outer shell is a snap-on plastic parts, so you could have different ones.
So I wanted to talk to you about what motivates you to start these businesses. And one thing that struck me was you have big ambitions. We say SpaceX takes 80% of payload to space, but that's not actually the ambition of SpaceX. Like, what is the ambition of SpaceX?
The goal of SpaceX is to make life multiplanetary in order to extend the probable lifespan of consciousness. That's been the goal from the beginning. You can see videos of me talking about this 20 years ago. So in order to do that, we need to transport a lot of people and equipment to Mars. And if we're able to do so, then we will get past the Fermi filter of being a single planet civilization, which is a precarious situation. If we're, like I said, if we're a multi-planet civilization, the probable lifespan of civilization is much greater. And once we're a multi-planet civilization, we can then extend beyond our solar system and try to go to other star systems, get out there and explore the galaxy, and find perhaps we'll find many long dead one-planet civilizations out there among the stars. But I'm just, for me, I'm motivated by curiosity about the nature of the universe. Where are the aliens? Are there aliens? How does where do universes come from? How do they end? Are we in a multiverse? Or what are even the right questions to ask?
The right questions to ask what?
Well,
an alien?
Well, Douglas Adams in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, one of the points he was making, Douglas Adams was making in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, is that the answer is the easy part, the question is the hard part. So, so what I think we want to do is expand the scope and scale of consciousness to better understand what questions to ask about the answer that is the universe. And
what about Neuralink? So talk to people about what Neuralink is.
Neuralink is, well, the long-term goal of Neuralink is to achieve human-AI symbiosis. The short term is really just helping people who have a brain or spine injury. So our first human recipient of a Neuralink, actually I just was meeting with him a few days ago. He has a Neuralink implant and he can control his computer and play video games just by thinking. So The first Neuralink implant is called telepathy. You can control your computer and phone just by...
Where is it? It's implanted like
sort
in
of,
here?
Yeah.
And he just thinks, and
it's
like a training.
There's no wires. It's
You just think, and it...
Yeah, it's inductively charged. So if you look at him, it doesn't look like he's got anything on. So the implant is invisible, essentially. Yeah, you can control this phone and computer, and he played the first, right after it got installed, he played video games all night.
And you're thinking you then can, if you have a spinal injury, you can embed another one in your spine.
Right.
And they can talk to each other.
Right. So long term, we think you could restore full body mobility to someone by transferring the signals from the motor cortex in the brain past where the spinal injury is. We've already demonstrated this in animals, and it's looking very good.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we talked galactically. How do you decide what ideas, like, do you have like terrible ideas, good ideas, too many ideas?
I have too many ideas.
Too many ideas?
Too many ideas.
And what do you do?
Ideas are relatively easy. Execution is hard.
And are people inside your companies, do they have ideas?
Yes.
And how does that work? How do they pitch an idea to you? They just do it?
So it's not really a pitching process. I have meetings with the engineering and design teams, and we discuss, product improvements or new products. But there's no actual sort of formal pitching or anything. It's really just we meet all the time, and people come up with ideas, and we move forward with them, or we don't.
But I'd imagine you're very data-driven, right? As a person, right? Or not?
Well, what do you mean by data? Do you mean like looking at...
Well, like someone comes like, I want to know why does it work? Show me the data. Or you're like, you know what? I think let's just give it a go.
Well, I think I'm not particularly data-driven in the sense that I'm like I don't decide on new product based on, say, consumer surveys or something like that. I try to mentally simulate what the end customer would be like that would want this, but we don't go do a bunch of consumer surveys or I don't really ask people.
No. You put yourself in.
Yeah.
You will put yourself.
It's really pretty obvious, I think. In the case of Starlink, would people buy low-cost, high-bandwidth, fast internet? Well, yes, obviously.
Yeah, but lots of people would they buy an electric car? They say, well, they might, but it's hard to make. Usually, and maybe they will, but I'm going to go and make Tesla and sell 1.2 million.
Well, the thing is that if you listen to surveys of do people want an electric car, you would not. There's no way you'd start an electric car company, because people don't say yes. They're happy with their current car. I think Henry Ford famously said, if you ask people back then what they wanted, they'd say they wanted a faster horse, and they would not have said they want an automobile. And I think there's also a famous survey of would you buy a television? And I think 90% of people said no. So, you got to be, it's because people don't understand what this new thing is that you're offering. So I think you need to be able to imagine how someone would enjoy the product, and if that seems compelling, then I think you should move forward with it.
What a lot of young people in the audience, young creators. What advice would you give to people starting out their careers today? Apart from you're not going to have to work, so
yeah. Well, there'll be obviously a transition period as AI gets better and better. I mean, the companies that will succeed in this transition period will be the ones that most effectively use AI. So if you're doing something and making maximum use of AI and you're competing against someone who is not, you will win.
What's like the best application of AI you've seen, do you think? I mean, how's Grok going and XAI?
Well, I mentioned some of the near-term applications of AI where you have AI understand a user's interests, and then you match content with that user, both organic content and paid content. You match it to that user.
Yeah.
That is already happening. TikTok's actually done a great job of that, and then Meta more or less copied them, and the X platform is doing the same. So those are examples that I think people experience every day. Now we're also seeing incredible image generation where companies like Midjourney make beautiful images instantly. Now it still takes some skill to get the best pictures out of Midjourney. So there's a talent to creating compelling pictures. You're also seeing video, which is just a bunch of pictures, essentially. So you'll be able to create videos and can already create pictures that are very compelling. If you need to write something, then the various AI things like Grok or Gemini, ChatGPT can help you write things.
Yeah.
When I talked to my son in university, and he's was like, "How many of your classmates are using AI to help them write things?" And he said, "All of them." It's like, okay.
I thought there was like anti-plagiarism software they could run it through, or they rewrite it afterwards, like cleverly.
Yes, but then there's another bit of software that defeats the anti-plagiarism software.
There's always like
spy versus spy versus spy versus
someone cleverer than the regulator out there.
Yeah. So
you have anti-plagiarism software that detects the use of anti-plagiarism software against plagiarism, like a reduction to the absurd.
Yep. So that's already being used a lot. I think that there's going to be a significant disruption in internet search because really for internet search you're just looking for an answer. So if the AI can provide you with a better answer than a bunch of links, then you'll prefer that over Google or Bing. So I think there's going to be quite a significant disruption in search.
What about the news business? Who's going to pay for the content on which these models are created, right? Do you think?
Well, I think, so what we're doing on the X platform is we are aggregating, we're using AI to sum up the aggregated input from millions of users. So, I think this is really going to be the new model of news, which is to gather information from people who are at the scene, who are experts in the field, and summarize the experts in the field and people who are in the field at whatever event's being talked about, and aggregate that into a real-time newsfeed. And I think for the most part that will be better than conventional journalism. Yeah. There's still a role for conventional journalism, but it's
but someone's got to pay for them, right?
Sorry?
Someone has to pay for it to happen, right?
Well, not necessarily. Like if you look at the X system, and you've got tens of millions of posts per day, which really are all the news content on Earth is, but a far more than what you would find in a newspaper is being generated on the system every day. If you aggregate that in real time, now you've got real-time aggregation of the collective wisdom of tens of millions of people.
Is that why you think truth-seeking is so important in AI?
Yeah, it's one of the reasons. It's also on the X system, although something maybe said that is incorrect, it is very quickly corrected. Whereas a newspaper that is publishing, especially in print form, is publishing what happened yesterday, today. That's, it can't publish any faster than that. And when you read the article, that article could be wrong, often is wrong, but there's no rebuttal to the article. So you don't see any real-time rebuttal. So I think, like I said, there's still a role for conventional news, but it's smaller and smaller over time. It's really what AI is doing and what the internet is doing is aggregating the wisdom of the people.
Yeah.
And the fact is that experts in a field know more than reporters. And people who are at the location where whatever news event is occurring are first-hand observers, whereas the reporter is, usually not there. Maybe there's one reporter there. But, I have one of my sons is sort of a bit autistic, like me, I suppose, and chip off the old block. And we were walking through an airport, and he saw a newspaper, and that today's date was printed on the newspaper, and he stopped for a second. He was like, "How did they know it was today's date?" And I was like, "No, they print out those newspapers every day." He says, "Every day? What a chore!" And then he sort of somewhat just dismissively said, "Oh, they probably just read the internet and print it out." It's like, yeah, they read the internet and print it out, pretty much.
Well, let's just hope the internet is true, or it's going to be a bit of a problem, I guess. Do you think it's true?
That is most news articles. They read the internet and they print it out. The reporter wasn't there.
Yeah, they do question people, look behind things. There are things that probably should come out, right? Are you looking forward to the presidential debate in 7 days' time?
That should be interesting, sure.
Is it going to be on the X platform?
I think it's on something on the conventional platform.
Eventually it will be, yeah.
So I would be happy to have one on the X platform. I think it would be quite compelling to do so.